Welcome, everybody, to the Real Marks of Long Island. And tonight, it's Justin and Ty. And tonight, we're going to talk about what we are marking out about in the world of professional wrestling. And the first thing we're going to do is talk about a field trip that Justin went on to Archer Ashe Stadium in New York. And what was that for, Justin?
Yeah, so last night was AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. I was given tickets, so I didn't have to purchase them. It was nice of my friend Rhodes to hook me up with 2 tickets. Beautiful seats, by the way. So I love the show. It was a pretty packed house. The crowd was into it, which you always got to love. But parking was $60 a car, which is absurd.
It's a big yikes right there.
Yeah, I think for Mets games, I believe it's $30, my friend said. So the fact that they bumped it up to $60 per car is absurd. I got to see a few wrestlers that I've been wanting to see live, like my boy Will Ospreay, who stole the show, I believe, him and Kyle Fletcher. Unreal match against the Elite, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. It was a great match. A lot of good matches, man. Starting off hot with the World Championship match with Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. The one other thing that I have to complain about is how long Tony Khan runs these shows. So you have the doors open at 6:30. Me and my buddy didn't walk in until 8. So yeah, you have people sitting there. Some get there at 6:30. Apparently, they did one of the collision matches. They recorded one of the collision matches before the live show, the live Dynamite show started, and then Dynamite goes from 8 to 10, and then Tony Khan came out and he brought out the CEO Mercedes Moné, and they said, "Stick around. We have collision coming up next. You guys get to pretty much jump. Go to the future because it already happened." It kind of reminded me of like the WCW days of Eric Bischoff spoiling the results, because I could spoil Saturday if I wanted to, but I won't. And then Tony Khan did a cringe Mercedes Moné CEO dance. It was really weird.
That was almost my bump of the week.
Yeah, it should have been. It was brutal. But yeah, it got to 11:30, 11:15. I had work this morning I had to wake up at 6:50. So me and my buddy were like, all right, it's time to cut it. It's time to call it quits. So we headed. I didn't get to see Okada, which was I was dying to see Okada, but I just couldn't last any longer. I saw on Twitter that the main event of Collision, the entrances were happening at 12:15 in the morning.
Dude, that's insane. How do you keep people? That's why there's probably all these shots of empty stadiums, because who wants to stay from, like you said, 6:30 to probably well into 12:30, 12:45, 1 a.m.
I mean, it's a whole work shift if you think about it. It's almost a full work shift just sitting there and watching wrestling. And I feel bad for the wrestlers that go on these later recordings, because the crowd is just completely gassed. They are exhausted. And I guess it's a little different for the West Coast, because you're starting it at, let's say, 6:00, if it's live at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's 6:00 there. So, I mean, then you're getting out around 11, which is fine. But I mean, getting out at 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then having to drive home or take a train is beyond frustrating. So overall, it was a great time. I had a good time. I met a lot of people. I met a few people from X, said hello to a few people, made some friends, made some acquaintances. And I would definitely do it again. I love going to all wrestling shows. Hopefully the next one is either in Brooklyn or, main event, Saturday night main event at the Coliseum. But overall, had a great time.
Yeah, and I wanted to know, what was your favorite match and what was your least favorite match of the night while being there?
My favorite match had to have been the tag team match for the tag team championships. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay versus Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. Just the false finishes, man. Like there was false finish on false finish on false finish on false finish. It was incredible. The crowd was super into it. Ospreay got a huge ovation once he came out. It was unreal. Then my least favorite match. I mean, could it be from could it be from Collision?
Sure, why not? It was the night, yeah.
Yeah, Saraya versus Jamie Hayter. It was gimmicked throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
She it was Saraya rules. So like they ran down the rules and it was like Saraya.
So it's like a bloodline rules, but like they made a play on Saraya rules or something like that.
Yeah, and then she like brought out like toy cars, and I was just totally not into that match at all.
Did you have the brother shirt on?
I could. So I got home from work and I hit traffic like always. And so I was struggling to find a shirt. So I ended up wearing the MJF shirt. I wore the MJF shirt, I think it says like you're poor, you're a poor or something like that.
Yeah.
The one that I still have.
How's mine doing?
Yeah, it's still on my desk at home in Sayville.
Sorry, I would have spoken earlier, but I cracked open my beer and it just exploded everywhere. I got foam off the top. I'm trying to drink and enjoy this podcast with you tonight.
All right.
But so the one thing I noticed was like that tag team match. I feel like Will Ospreay brings out the best in everyone. Like he's going full force, 130, 150% every one of his matches. And I really enjoy the double Styles Clash, and I really like that the announcers still call it the Styles Clash. Like, even though he's a WWE guy, like, everyone still refers to that maneuver as the Styles Clash, and I hope it's always that way.
I mean, it's got to be. AJ made that move what it is. So, to me, it's always going to forever. Truthfully, I don't even know another name for that move other than the Styles Clash.
I know. I don't think anything else could be the name. Like a forward face buster jumping slam. I don't know. Don't ask me to name moves, man. I'm not here for that. The one other thing that Grand Slam got me with was MVP shows up, talk some shit to Prince Nana, and I don't know about you, man, but I think for Swerve to make that jump to the next level, bring on MVP. I love Nana. I love the dance. I love what he brings, but with MVP as like a mouthpiece, especially for how like he's a heel, and Prince Nana kind of brings him in the mold between face and heel, but going full MVP and especially tossing Nana to the side, I think could do wonders for MVP. And I don't know how you feel, but that's what I want to see at this moment.
So you kind of saw MVP after, I don't know if he was released or if he just wasn't brought back to WWE. I know he made an appearance in GCW Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. And so he was talking about, he wants to challenge Josh Barnett and who knows who he's going to show up with. So clearly, wherever he's going, you're going to have the Hurt Business back. And I know on the business card, it said the Hurt Syndicate at the bottom. So speculation here and there that, when MVP, wherever MVP goes, you're going to have Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. Now, some people are saying, a lot of people want to bring in younger talent, not older talent. All three of them are pretty up there in age, still great shape, still great performers. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know if Shelton Benjamin has actually wrestled since his release, unless it's just been on like lower indies that we just don't know about. But if you could add Swerve to that group, I mean, that's pretty sick. But I also think like Will Hobbs. I think I would love to see like Wardlow in like a group like that. But Will Hobbs comes to mind, and then like Swerve Strickland. Like if he comes calling, imagine Swerve, like you said, with the Hurt Business. Like that's printed money.
Bobby Lashley as like the enforcer, who's also like the star to back up Swerve, Shelton Benjamin right there as a team. I feel like this could be like the revival of what the Hurt Business should have been, because the Hurt Business, the potential there, and Vince really dropped the ball, because at its prime, especially when Shelton and I'm blanking out on his tag team partner's name.
Cedric Alexander.
Cedric Alexander, like when they were the tag team champs, like the pieces were there. Like give them the keys to the kingdom. Like you really needed like a compelling faction other than the Bloodline. And now we have that, right? Now we have that with, how the Judgment Day is, and we have a new Bloodline, and we see more factions forming, and we have, the Wyatt Six. But like back then, it was just really the Bloodline and no other rival competition. And that could have been it. I would have thrown my money at the Hurt Business versus the Bloodline, especially when you had the Hurt Business as Raw's faction and the Bloodline as SmackDown's faction. And I think that could have done numbers, especially if you had, Jimmy and Jay versus Cedric and Shelton Benjamin, and then Roman and Bobby clashing. Like that could have been an all-out full faction assault of a program. And I think it could have made so much money. But what we see now, like you said on the card, it said the Hurt Syndicate. If they're going AEW, they can go to the Indies, they can go to ROH, they can go to New Japan. That can be a global faction, kind of like what the Bullet Club has done, but maybe with MVP as the mouthpiece, make it more dominant, make it more scary, not as like, fun and like the top wrestlers and, they're doing their things to their best, but make it more of a dominant faction that people are afraid of, that can show up anywhere, anytime, at any show that's not WWE.
Yeah, you bring up like the Bloodline. I think it would be tough with the Bloodline just because they're the Bloodline. Like no one is beating the Bloodline. They're the most dominant faction in all of WWE that we've seen in decades. Probably ever since like Evolution, honestly. So like if you put them up, like that's why I don't even want to see like the Wyatt Six like be involved with the Bloodline, because then you're gonna lose. And then that hurts the Wyatt Six. That would hurt, the Hurt Business. Like, I would love to see the Hurt Business first, like you said, Judgment Day or the Wyatt Six. I just want to keep them far away from the Bloodline, because Bloodline, once you're in the Bloodline business, you're getting squashed. Like it's a matter of fact.
I think in this moment now, yes. But I think if in the near future, if the Bloodline stays a thing past the Roman New Bloodline feud, I think they're going to be a little less dominant. But I agree with you. Back then, yeah, no one was touching them. They would have lost all the titles to them, and it just would have maybe hurt them. But I saw so much potential in the Hurt Business, and I hope that they do bring it back, in another, in another light, which we might be seeing. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what MVP brings, what his ideas are, and what he wants to see this Hurt Syndicate be in the near future.
Yeah, you ever think? I know we don't have Court here tonight, but like I'm just trying to think like what she would think about, the Hurt Syndicate, and I'm just like, what do you think she would say?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
What was that, Court? What'd you say?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
Wait, Justin, did you ask her about the Syndicate? Ask her again, Court, what do you think about the Hurt Syndicate and the future that it can hold for them?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
She just can't keep Cody Rhodes' name out of her mouth. It's ridiculous. Like we could be on a totally different topic, and she's thinking Cody Rhodes.
All right, I have a new question, because I did this. I set up myself to get the pre-sale tickets for SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium in 2025 in August, because should we go? But Court, did you sign up for the pre-sale tickets for SummerSlam next year?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
That's all she says. That's all she says on the podcast. It's crazy.
Well, I think Cody Rhodes would be there, so I feel like we all sign up and get
Cody
those
Rhodes
tickets.
Is the #1
you're talking
in the world.
Oh my God, Court's not even here, and she's just being a nuisance with Cody Rhodes. But how crazy is that? We went from having a 2-day SummerSlam in 2026. What was it, in Minneapolis, right?
Yep.
And now they're just like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to New Jersey. We're going to MetLife. 2 nights, SummerSlam 2025. We got to go at least one night, right?
I'm in for both. Let's get a hotel room, just spend the weekend. My son will be like 7 months, 7-8 months, maybe.
That's enough. That's enough time for your son and your wife to have some bonding time alone, right? And have a weekend or so.
I'll bring him. I mean,
with the headphones on him to make sure.
All Court will be
Cody
saying is
Rhodes
this:
is the #1 wrestler in the world.
and I'm going to be like, Mason, stop listening to Court. Cody Rhodes is not the #1 wrestler in the world. His name is Will Ospreay.
All right. So let's go into our first segment of the night, brought to you by the PW Nexus friends that we have. And we got to first decide on who was the bump of the week last week, because there was a tie between Braun Strowman's crossbody to Bronson Reed through the barricade and Bronson Reed yeeting a fan at Braun Strowman.
Well, I'm glad Cody's crossbody didn't win or come close, because Court's not even here.
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
Court. My goodness.
I was actually going to have her do the tiebreaker, but that kind of leaves it up in the air. But
yeah, she decided to watch a Giant game over coming to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, she should be rooting for the Jets anyway, but whatever. But I think we're safe to say we're going to give it week 1, first ever bump of the week will be a tie. Since we do not have a tiebreaker, we have the same amount of votes for each one, and it's the same wrestlers, just 2 different bumps. So why not? We give it to both of them. The crossbody, the yeeting of the fan, which the yeeting of the fan is just still so glorious. I feel like that's going to go down in professional wrestling history forever. That's still they'll never get forgotten about. But we got to pick our bumps of the week this week, our nominations. And Court, I want to know your second pick, for the nomination of bump of the week.
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
All right, Court, whatever. Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler. We got whatever. We'll get back to Court. Justin, what did you choose as your bump of the week?
Yeah, so mine happened last night while I was there live. AEW Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe in Queens, New York. It's Darby Allin, that sick SOB. The Marina Shafir had ripped up the mat, the floor outside. She ripped it up, so it was just like a barricade, just the wood on the bottom. And Darby decided to just take a suicide dive through the ropes, landed right on his shoulder, right onto the concrete floor, and you heard it live. You heard it. It was like, holy shit! Like that definitely just hurt. So that is by far my bump of the week.
What got by the way, I wanted to ask you this, and I forgot. What got the loudest reaction there? Like, what was like the loudest point of the night?
It was close. Definitely Final Countdown for Bryan Danielson was, dude, the whole crowd just putting up their arms, like screaming, "It's the final!" It was sick. That, or dude, I'm telling you, Will Ospreay with his entrance and the Ospreay. It probably between those two, I would have to say.
And what'd you think about Bryan bringing back the Justin Roberts tie to choke out Moxley?
I liked it. I do. So to tell you the truth, I was convinced that because that match started off the night, I thought we were going to get a surprise. So I thought maybe we were going to get Shane McMahon debuting, which actually the Jacksons posted a photo of them with Shane in the airport, saying that was an interesting flight. So teasing that a little bit more. But yeah, I thought we were going to get a debut or some sort at the end to send the show off. But having Bryan Danielson come out with the tie and start choking Mox was also great, because that shows that he's not fucking around, and they're going to settle this at AEW Wrestle Dream.
He said he's going to stomp his fucking face in. So I mean, I'm ready. That match is going to be awesome. I'm very excited about that. We'll go a little bit more into it. So I'll give Court's nomination was Jey Uso spearing Braun Breaker through the barricade. We got the barricade twice in 2 weeks. And then, dude, I don't know how you were watching that match, but like, I was like, once he hit the super kick on Braun Breaker outside, and he lined up for the spear, I'm like, this man, I'm getting the chills, I'm getting the goosebumps right now. He's winning the IC title, well deserved, man. Like, Braun Breaker has a hell of a career in front of him, and I think this was the right move to get Jey Uso to have his first singles championship in WWE, because the crowd was electric when he won. So, dude, how did you feel watching that? Like, I was pumped up.
Yeah, so I was at bowling, and I was trying to keep up with it, and actually Mark. So I have to call myself out because Mark, over at PWN, he saw that I was live tweeting a Ranger preseason game over NXT, and I said, I record it for a reason. I watch it afterwards. Don't worry, I will keep up with my NXT. But so shout out to Mark, shout out to Jay. They're doing a phenomenal job. But back to your question. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting some sort of, like I said, some interference, because how often do we usually don't see a title change hands on a Raw or a SmackDown, to be honest with you. And the fact that it works, because I feel like they want Braun to turn face. And I feel like Braun has already started transitioning towards a face. Like, he's in a backstage promo and he goes, and the dogs are barking in Cleveland. And all of a sudden the crowd just goes, like, it's crazy. So like, I mean, the crowd's into it. So, the next logical step is for him to turn face and let him go off and venture off onto, I don't know, the United States Championship. But, we have a face holding that title right now. So, and it's also on SmackDown. So, I don't know where Braun Breaker goes from here, but like you said, he has a bright future. He's going to be one of the faces of WWE for years to come. Great match. Love it for Jay. Can't be happier for main event Jey Uso. And Rikishi hopefully can finally shut up on all social media platforms, because he's been super weird.
Instagram and tweeting pictures and videos of Jay.
Dude, he's been weird. He's pray for Jimmy. I don't know. He's just been weird.
Yeah, but, I know. So I'm gonna give my nomination now, since we have one left, and this is outside the realm of wrestling. We're going T.Y. Hilton tossing Seth Rollins out the stadium in Indianapolis, because that was amazing. The moment I saw that, I'm like, that is my bump of the week. Seth Rollins hasn't been on WWE TV in a bit, but he's still making waves everywhere he goes. And he's out there dancing with some Colts gear on. I'm like, bro, he's a Bears fan. He's about to rip that shit off. Like, I knew. And then he's, rips the shirt off. He's got his Bear jerseys on. And I did not expect T.Y. Hilton to toss his ass out to the stadium and get thrown out. It was amazing. It was so good.
And I love that Pat McAfee was also in that box. So you just see McAfee like in the background, like, oh, he just got tossed. No, it was a great moment. That's a viral moment right there. That's just going to blow up on all social media platforms. It's a great moment. Surprised it was T.Y. Hilton. Like, I didn't know, right? He was probably like the last guy I would have thought of, like, maybe like Edgar James, if he's still around. Like, T.Y. Hilton, I didn't even know, what he was up to. But the fact that it was him, I thought maybe McAfee. I thought maybe Pat McAfee would have done it,
Yeah.
But great moment. It's awesome. And Seth is just being Seth. He's freaking out, while he's on the field. He played it off great.
And the Colts won their first game of the season off that. So if you need your team to win, get Seth Rollins at your stadium now. But to recap, we got 3 bumps of the week as the nominations. Go on our socials and vote. Post on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Darby Allin taking a nasty spill on the outside. We got the Jey Uso spear on Braun Breaker through the barricade. And we got T.Y. Hilton tossing Seth Rollins out the stadium. So pick on those and let us know what the winner will be, and we'll get back to you next week with that. So now I kind of want to transition into huge segment last week on SmackDown, because when we record, it's Thursdays, the day before the new SmackDown. So last week's SmackDown is what we talk about now. And by God, I was watching it live because I have the USA app, and I can watch SmackDown because it's on USA Network. And I couldn't believe the quality, the promo skills of these two men in this promo in Georgia Tech. Roman, Cody Rhodes. It starts off with Roman showing up with a 7-car lineup. And this promo battle was WrestleMania-esque. And Justin, how did you feel watching that?
It was a movie. That it's exactly what it was. It was a Martin Scorsese masterpiece. It was incredible. I actually didn't realize, like, 9 minutes in, neither of them had said a word to each other. Like, that's how crazy it was. I was like hooked. I was like, what's going on here? The only people that I felt bad for were the people that bought tickets to that SmackDown, because they're watching it like us, and they had like 25 minutes of their show cut out to, for that promo. But it was something, man. And like, there's just nothing but goodness to say about that. It's not even a promo. It was a movie. I'm just calling it a movie. For that movie that was produced and produced by, I think Paul Heyman was a part of it. Jeremy Borash was a part of that. And you kind of got that, like, Cody Rhodes could be a heel vibe. And, because you guys have brought up, like, Homelander, right? Who knows? Like, he could just be that arrogant asshole heel that no one's better than him. And I kind of hope we see a Cody Rhodes, heel turn eventually at one point.
Cody Rhodes is the number 1 wrestler in the world.
I get it, Court. Cody Rhodes is the number 1 wrestler in the world, but at that, I kind of, I don't know. It was just so good. And the fact that at the end, Roman said, "You're in my way in life," was
dude, I really love that. And like the whole promo itself, they were trying to, like, you can tell they were trying to one up each other. And Mark Henry on Busted Open said, like, I feel the same way. Cody Rhodes won that exchange. It was so, like, personal between the two of them. You felt the tension, the music, the way the different hits happened when they dropped certain lines. It was just like, I want this now. And we spoke about this last week. Like, they're drawing this out. They want people to salivate over Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And a day later, after we recorded, they were doing exactly what we were saying. They were pulling people, saying, you want this, and we do want this. And just to see, like, Roman come in and say, this is my stadium. What have you done for my stadium, for my city? And Cody Rhodes is like, you played football here. Yeah. So you went back to the beach. My family bled in this city in all different areas. And, Roman reacted with, like, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, you have everything to lose. We have nothing to lose. We're fighting over, the head of our family. And you're over here as a champion who's going to be in a dangerous gamble. And Cody's just like, I told you this was going to happen. You ain't surprising me. What did I tell you when you were going to be a chief with no tribe? No Paul Heyman, no Usos, no bloodline. And, like, it was just so perfect. And like you mentioned, when Cody Rhodes stepped in front of him and Roman is like, you're in my way. And he steps away and he goes, no, you're in my way in life. This is going to be a multi-year feud. Like, this is like Stone Cold versus The Rock we're soon going to get. Because these two guys are now, like, Cody's getting to that level. Roman's been there with his accomplishments and stuff. They're going to be the two forces of WWE that will always be a constant, I say, for the next 5 to 7 years. And they're always going to be in the main event, and they're always going to be in each other's way. So I'm excited. This stuff is like what Triple H, like, creates and brings a future for. And it's just like, I can't, like, I wish I was on Triple H's level with how he thinks and how he books things and makes sure things are pushing for the future, especially with the star power. It's crazy. And I know that we're going to have, like, at least two WrestleManias and maybe 2 SummerSlams that have a main event that's going to be pitting Cody and Roman against each other.
Yeah. And, they talk all the time that a promo or a segment you're selling the pay-per-view. They sold me on Bad Blood. Although it's a PLE, so unless you don't have Peacock, like it's free. But like I'm seated now for Bad Blood because I want to see if they can actually coexist and keep their word. Because Cody said, "I need your word that you're going to have my back," and Roman said it. Roman said he's going to have Cody's back. Now, is he going to lie to him? I don't know. I cannot wait for Saturday.
Or does Roman have his back until after the match is over? And then once that match is over, a nice receipt and say, "Yo, I'm coming for that championship."
Dude, I can't wait. I'm so curious to see what happens. And you've heard that WWE has signed Hikuleo for a while now, but he's, everyone thought he's the next pawn in this whole bloodline saga, but they said that he's on the internal roster for NXT. So unless he's going to start something down there, or he's just not even going to be a part of this for now, I'm curious. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think with last week, this whole bloodline, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns thing had just took a whole nother level. And you can tell they're investing their money in it, and it shows. And they know that this is going to be a staple for years to come. And I just need to know, what do you think Court would say who won the exchange between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns?
I mean, she would probably say this.
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
What was that, Court?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
You think
wait, I have a question for Court. Court, are the Giants going to win tonight?
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
I'll take that as a no. I think the Cowboys are winning tonight.
Yeah, she doesn't even care about the Giants. Like, she's skipping the podcast. Cody's the only thing on her mind. It's crazy. I wonder how many dreams Cody Rhodes shows up in for Court. It's insanity.
Every night, 12 times a night.
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
All right, Court, we're done with you. Shut your mouth. All right. Well, because Courtney, who thinks Cody Rhodes is the best wrestler in the world, I guess he was #1 wrestler, PWI. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. But we have another segment. It's not Cody's Corner, right? So we're going to do This Day in Wrestling. Today is September 26th, and we're going to go back in time a little bit, which this is a wild one. 2009. You saw the match. We're going to go back. How many years? What is that? 15 years?
Before you start, I'm excited for this because I don't know anything you're about to say. So I'm ready to hear what happened on this day in wrestling history.
Ring of Honor. Glory by Honor, number, I think, 8 it was. The final countdown in Manhattan Center in New York. Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness. He won by submission in both their last matches in Ring of Honor. They both went on to go to WWE, but I think Nigel McGuinness failed the drug test and then ended up going to TNA. So that was their last match 15 years ago.
On this day,
a day after they wrestled for the AEW World Title, and you witnessed it live.
One thing that I wanted to mention about that match was I was very impressed with Nigel McGuinness. No, hats off to him. After years and years, I think it was 11 years outside of the ring, he looked great. I wish that they had a bigger build up to that match. I thought it was rushed. Yeah. I thought it was forced. Because they could have went on a long time with that history, like you just mentioned. It was it was a great match, and I thought it was cool that in the while he was being submitted, he said thank you to Bryan Danielson. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
hats off to both of them. I just kind of wish they had more of a chance to build up this story, but obviously Bryan's got to go deal with the murderer in Jon Moxley.
And then we have another last match.
Ooh.
This time in WWE. This day in 2017, Neville wrestled his last televised WWE match against Arya Daivari, in which he won by submission. And that man is now linked to Bryan in a way because now he's in the Blackpool Combat Club. One of the right-hand man for Jon Moxley. And I kind of love the new Blackpool Combat Club. I like Pac being a part of it. and I like that they're heel. That's what they should have been the whole time. I know they kind of were, but people were just so behind them, and I think that turn on Danielson was the way to go.
But are they even the Blackpool Combat Club? I don't think they have a name right now. They're just kind of like these freaks, these madmen that are just trying to murder everyone in sight. Like, I don't think, are they like on TV? I didn't get to hear the commentary, but were they called the Blackpool Combat Club?
I honestly can't remember. I don't remember if they referred to them as that.
Yeah, I think it's just Moxley, Marina Shafir,
Moxley and the Murderers. Like, is that the new team?
It's just Moxley and the Madmen and Marina.
Moxley and the Madmen. I like it. And I'm going to give one more. 1999, Charlotte, North Carolina. WWF Unforgiven. Triple H wins the vacant WWF Championship in a six-pack challenge against The Rock, Mankind, Kane, Big Show, and the British Bulldog with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee.
The British Bulldog? What?
Yeah. What? 1999, man. What a combination of characters. That's like a WrestleMania match, in my opinion, nowadays. Maybe minus Bulldog, but yeah.
That must have been like on his second run with the company, no? 99?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, that I did not expect to hear the British Bulldog's name come out of that.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Rock, Mankind, Kane, Big Show, British Bulldog.
Literally like the Attitude Era plus the British Bulldog.
Yeah.
Wow.
Too funny.
All right.
But speaking of Triple H and WWF, the Attitude Era, this week we had the Mr. McMahon documentary drop on Netflix, and I'm 3 or 4 episodes in at this point, and I know Vince was like quaking in his boots a little bit about how this is going to like destroy him as a person, as a character, but like they mentioned off the bat, this was all filmed prior to the 2021 allegations popping up about him, and he literally walked out mid-interview because they found out while he was being interviewed that this stuff was leaked. And I mean, I'm not finished with it, but I don't think they're really ripping at his character and his person. Yeah, they're just, spitting facts about things that happened in wrestling, but I don't know if they're really ripping at his character yet, because most of the stuff any hardcore wrestling fan knows. And I'm watching my wife, and she's like, watching this stuff. She likes more like the real world stuff than the wrestling stuff. And like the third episode, like you get wrestling, and it's awesome. Like I'm like the people you see, the name drops, the people who are a part of the interviews. They did like over 100 interviews or something, man. And it's a hell of a time. Did you get to watch any of it yet or no?
Yeah, so I was able to watch. I'm through the first 2 episodes, and I'm like halfway through the third right now. But I definitely want to sit down and watch it with my wife, because I think she would find that side, like you just said, like you're with your wife, like just to see the behind. It's not even like behind the scenes, but it's like the shit that actually went on, like, with the history and how WWE became this global phenomenon. And as much of a scumbag that Vince McMahon is, like, what would we be talking about today
exactly
if it wasn't for him taking that chance on WrestleMania 1 and whatnot? So like it's kind of like thanks for giving us wrestling, but also you're a fucking scumbag.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you watch, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like you can see where he starts to get hypocritical because he was the one that, destroyed, the territories. But then when WCW starts poaching, it's like you can see a little bit of hypocrisy. I don't know. Hypocrisy. Thank you. I don't know how to speak English. I'm drinking beers this time. This is why my English isn't great. But it's just like, it's funny, but also like a lot of the stuff that was so influential in wrestling. And even like you mentioned, like Eric Bischoff spoiling, the results of Raw because it was taped before they went live, and WCW was live. So they were like, don't watch that. Shawn Michaels is going to do this. And it's like, you could just tune in here. Like, it's it's a wild ride. There's most of the things I knew of. There's some things I'm learning, and you'll get to it too. I don't know if you know, but I was very shocked about who put the idea in Vince's head on how to screw Brett. So I mean,
Oh no, I didn't get up to that yet.
Yes, I mean, it's not surprising, but like I would have thought Vince thought of it on his own. But yeah, I don't see why Vince would be scared yet. Maybe that's probably towards the later episodes because they're going through the history of WWE.
Yeah.
But you gotta watch. Like, people gotta watch this. Like, this is like entertainment, and just having Vince at the forefront and getting interviewed for all this, it's like putting the pieces together. And you watch like the first episodes, like him and his dad. You can see like how emotional he was getting just by his dad saying he loved him once in his lifetime. Like, crazy. Like, this is like crazy shit. Like his life, like as a kid, was pretty shitty, and the only time that was told he was proud of him was when, he finally like made WWE big, and like after he took over like most of the territories. It's like this guy just wanted love from his dad and like could not get it.
Also, what's up with Vince's lips? Like I can't stop looking at his lips. They're like purple. I don't know if you know.
He's probably gone through so many different like plastic surgeries that it's just, I don't know.
I can't stop looking at his lips. It's like freaking me out every time I'm watching him talk. But yeah, it's crazy. I can't wait. So in that episode, I'm up to Wendy Richter right in the beginning where she refused to drop the title. So he's like,
yep,
all right, like it's business. Like, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah.
See you later. You're going to get pinned and that's it. You don't know. Just get you to the ring, ring that bell. And guess what? You're losing.
Dude, the stuff you're going to see with Eric Bischoff, dude, when he's interviewed, he's loving it. Like when they were talking about all the WCW stuff and beating them in the ratings, he's glowing every time he talks about that kind of stuff. And it's so funny because Eric Bischoff is such a character, such a talent, and he really brings like so much joy during this whole documentary.
Yeah, I hopefully get to watch maybe another episode tonight and maybe one tomorrow. I think there's 6, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I got like 3.5 to go.
My next episode is the Attitude Era, so I'm very, very pumped for that. But how about, dude, Tony Atlas must hate Vince McMahon. Dude, he grilled him the entire first 2 episodes.
I mean, dude, the shit that he said about Pat Patterson, I was like, holy shit. The producer or whatever was like, could you tell anyone? I was like, pah, you definitely don't know wrestling, brother. Who am I supposed to tell? He's a booker. He's touching my pecker.
It's funny because you see like that, like the Netflix people have no clue about wrestling. They're gonna learn real quick. But do you think at all that this will tarnish the Netflix WWE relationship? Obviously, they're in a contract. Like, this is happening. Raw is going to Netflix. Do you think there is any bad blood now between Netflix and the higher ups with TKO and maybe Triple H and stuff?
I don't know, because clearly Vince is not a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And even when he was selling to TKO, like, I know that was his way to get back in, was selling and then becoming whatever he was with the board.
Yeah.
But even then, like, TKO doesn't want him there. No. Like, TKO wants to turn this into a whole different thing. They want to be able to unite with UFC, their other companies. So I in a way, like, sure, I probably pissed off like Triple H maybe. I mean, but even like, I don't know what the McMahon like family relationship is like. Like, it kind of seems a little funky, It
does. I mean, I feel like Shane doesn't give 2 craps about what happens to his dad, because I think he's been shunned so much. Why would he be, and trying to invest or whatever he's doing with AEW if he cared about, his dad and the legacy of WWE and stuff? I think he's been so, like, I feel like Vince was doing to Shane what his dad did to him, in a sense. I think, given that tough love that, like, I'm not going to say I love you or I'm proud of you until you make it And I think that's what we're seeing Shane try and do right now. Like, I think he's just trying to do what he can. But even like, if you think back when Vince first stepped back in, he dropped out of WWE. Steph took over. Triple H took over. Wrestling was WWE was at an all-time high because the reins were in Stephanie and Hunter's hands, and he couldn't fucking, take that. He couldn't just be happy for his daughter and his son-in-law to be taking this company to new heights, and he had to fucking insert himself right back in. And what did Stephanie do? She just sold her fucking shit and got out. She's like, no, I'm done. And really hasn't been back since. Yeah, she came back for WrestleMania Night 2, announced WrestleMania. She was back, I think, on SmackDown or Raw that following week. But other than that, she got the hell out of Dodge once her dad got back. So I feel like they know. But
she also, like, what was she there to do? She was there to introduce the fans to the Triple H era.
Yes.
Like, the Vince McMahon era is gone, and she was the one to say goodbye to it.
Exactly.
So I don't know how they all feel, just because I think he's done a lot of shitty things. And I think obviously Steph and Shane and Linda obviously are well aware. So I think the only one really pissed is Vince. And, like Bruce Pritchard, like
dude,
he said it. He said it was a hit piece. He said it was a hit piece. But I think TKO is probably fine with it, because everyone should know that this is a new era. It's a new regime. It's a new, it's literally under a new company. So I think it's saying, hey, this is all the shitty stuff that happened, but now get ready for what's about to start, because now it's better than ever and it's going to be a spectacle.
Yeah. And dude, and every time I see Triple H talk, I'm just like, this man's a genius. Like, it could be about something stupid, and I'm like, this man's a genius. I could watch Triple H talk all day, whether it's the documentary on Netflix, whether it's the press conferences, whether it's on ESPN, where it could be a promo from 10 years ago. I could watch Hunter Hearst Helmsley talk all day. That man, I freaking loved him from the get-go. Me and my former roommate, he always would argue with me that Triple H wasn't top 5, and I'm like, bro, he's one of my top 1-2 heels of all time. Like, Triple H, the game, is, to me, bar none, one of the best heels of all time. And it just shows how knowledgeable he was. And dude, I don't know. I could geek out about Triple H all day. The man, to me, does no wrong. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's ushering us into this new era, and it's record-breaking era. Like, there's no stopping this train anytime soon. And we see it with them taking a 2-night SummerSlam a year early than what they were going to do. Like, they're ready. This is going to be an insane ride for the next few years.
Yeah, it's an express train right to the top. And you can see with all the sellouts, like they keep mentioning, I think they've had like 40 sellouts this year. It's crazy. And with all the international pay-per-views that they're having, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. It's the hottest it's ever been. And Triple H, he knows what he's doing, and he knows this is he's steering the ship, and he is steering the ship in the right direction. Just a little side note, definitely wanted to bring this up before we closed out the show, but our Long Island native, Matt Cardona, he's been releasing like these like amazing, like almost once again, movie trailers, like promos about his life. And they have just been fucking top notch. And he's the complete Matt Cardona. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But I'm sure you have, because I think it already has over 200 million views in 48 hours. WWE, what are you doing? Bring him back. Nassau Coliseum, December, whatever it is, the 15th or whatever it is.
Saturday Night Main Event. I know the perfect place to debut Matt Cardona is right there at the Nassau Coliseum. Do it. Dude, that man knows what he's doing, especially we saw it on YouTube, Z's Truth Long Island Story. He was so ahead of his time, and he still is. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows his worth, and I would love for him to get a shot in the higher tier of wrestling and for WWE, because he deserves it. I mean,
absolutely.
I watched you sent it to the group chat, and I watched it like 3 times. I'm like, dude, he put work into this, into this video. Like, it's exciting. I would love to see him get a shot, even like one match for the WWE Championship, because he deserves it. Win or lose, whatever, but at least he can have that match and be there for the WWE Championship.
It would also be really cool if it was against Cody Rhodes, just because of the friendship and the bond that they have. Like a heel Matt Cardona, obviously faced Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes is the #1 wrestler in the world.
Not until Matt Cardona shows up in WWE court. Once Matt Cardona shows up in WWE, Matt Cardona is the #1 wrestler in the world.
I was gonna bring something else up, but we're gonna leave it at that. That was a stunner statement to leave this episode off with. Everyone, please let us know your thoughts on the episode. Make sure to let us know your pick that you want to win Bump for the week, and we will let you know next week. Give us your thoughts on the McMahon documentary on Netflix, that Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns segment from last week at Georgia Tech, and also AEW's Grand Slam. We want to hear all your thoughts. Reach out to us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any of the socials. We are the Real Marks of Long Island, and we'll catch you on the next one.
#Court is a heel. Later.
#Real Marks out.